Access granted.
Subject: Interview with Emily from Hasbro. Body: on December 2nd, 2021, Christopher McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80, was tasked with the mission of interviewing Emily from Hasbro's G.I. Joe brand marketing team about the awesome HasLab Skystriker project. Here's what we could show you from this G14 classified interview.
Access granted.
Hello and welcome to this very special edition of the Full Force Redacted, brought to you by GeneralsJoesReborn.com, with me as your host, Christopher McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80. On today's episode, I'll be discussing the ongoing HasLab Skystriker campaign with none other than Hasbro's very own G.I. Joe brand marketer, Emily. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Oh my gosh, I am great. It is fall here in New England, so the trees are, getting naked. The leaves are on the ground. It's been fun to kind of watch. I'm originally from the West Coast, so this whole trees shedding in the fall thing is very foreign to me. I'm like, what is happening?
You only know palm trees, right?
Yeah, pine trees, a different, slightly northwest coast. But I am very used to there being, green around all year, and all the trees by my house were just so it's been fun. I like it here.
It's
nice.
It's a cute. I actually, because we only moved here very recently, the last couple of years. And I'm from the UK originally. You might have maybe picked that up from my accent.
I just thought that it was a really good fake accent.
Just fake. I'm just faking it. Yeah, I'm from Texas originally.
Oh, then no. This is a very good fake accent.
And so obviously coming here, it's just it rains a lot, but it's very, very lush, very country and all that kind of stuff. So I really like it. It's very much like home. So yeah. I'm vibing with this coast. Anyway, Emily, we're not here to talk about where we're from, are we? We're here to talk about the HasLab Skystriker. So, I suppose let's get into it. I mean, what?
Oh yeah.
We'll start from the beginning in the very first kind of inkling of there being a G.I. Joe HasLab. What made you guys decide on the Skystriker?
Yeah. So we really wanted. Sorry, G.I. Joe has, live guys, G.I. Joe has so much incredible history. We have decades of history to pull from. And so for our first HasLab, we really wanted to lead with a super iconic vehicle that when you look at it, you say G.I. Joe. And that to us, we also kind of wanted to figure out, with the 40th anniversary of A Real American Hero coming up, what could we do to tie that in? And so we thought that this HasLab was the perfect opportunity to kick off the return of O-ring figures, which we know is something that people identify very closely with for G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
And so O-ring combined with vehicle, we really thought that, to do it in kind of a big way, which to be fair, this is a big plane, especially with this little, because let's see, there we go. Good job, wings. This is a big toy. And so we really wanted to be able to do something that when you held it in your hands, you could say, this is so cool. And to us, we know that the Skystriker has been done before, but we wanted to make the ultimate version of it. So this is the grown-up Skystriker, the one that you wanted to have as a kid, that you imagined all of the things that it can do. Now it actually does that. And so, what better way to kick off our HasLab G.I. Joe experience with what is basically a 2 foot long, 2 foot wide plane? That's great.
Were there any discussions though, kind of early on about, did you go through any other ideas? Were there any other kind of vehicles or even play sets kind of on the, in the kind of discussions?
Oh yes. Yeah. So when we ideate on HasLabs, really when we ideate on any big projects here, we love a good brainstorm. I am firmly of the belief that more minds are better than just one. So we would gather anybody who wanted to be there on the team. We'd start throwing things at the wall, metaphorically, not literally, to see
Skystrikers, or strikers. Yeah, throw them all at the wall. Just chuck everything. The Terradrome. There you go.
We don't care about archival purposes here. We just throw things at the walls. But so within those brainstorming sessions, we start what would be something really cool? What stories are we looking to tell? How do we think that this can kind of evolve? So first it's everything's up for grabs. Then we start kind of narrowing it down. And then we start kind of figuring out things that are okay, so if we don't do this idea this year, maybe we do this in 3 years. Maybe we do this in 10 years. Maybe this is our long-term plan.
Oh, that's cool. So there's an element of forward thinking going on as well.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Because we want to figure out, we want these things to kind of make sense when you look at them holistically. As a collector, if you have, if we are fortunate enough to be able to do more HasLabs in the future, if you have them all lined up on a shelf, we want you to be able to look at them and be like, yeah, this makes like, I can see how this makes sense. And then, you know, from like a current brand strategy point, we kind of figure out there's a little bit of marketing involved, but we thought that this would be a great time to bring the Skystriker back in a big and meaningful way.
Awesome, awesome. So once you landed, pun absolutely intended, on the Skystriker, how did you guys go about developing it? Was it like a case of looking at the older versions and like seeing what could be updated? Was that like, is that just on the designers, or is that everyone's kind of input at that stage?
Yeah, so it's kind of everybody's input. So we started by looking at the past version, which are behind me. So this one is, let's see, that's white tail fins. So this is 1980s. This is the 2011 ones with her black tail fins. And I'll grab those and we can do some close-ups.
Oh, brilliant.
Later.
Nice. A bit of comparison on screen. I like it.
Yeah. Just this is the design model for the or not the actual like from the 80s, but it is the one that our designers have been using to like rip apart and figure out how to recreate the Skystriker. So it's missing a couple pieces. Don't judge her too harshly. So really we started looking at past versions and trying to figure out what we loved about them and what we weren't crazy about. So like one of the biggest sticking points for us was that shared lever for the wings to open for the wing sweep and the landing gear. To us, we really wanted to be able to say like, okay, that really limits what your storytelling play is here. So if we could figure out how to make those into two separate things, we think that that would be great. We know that one of the things about the original Skystriker that people really loved was the parachutes, but they were kind of this like plasticky material. They ripped really easily. Yep. And we can talk more about this later, but we just got a prototype of this in.
Oh my goodness. Exclusive.
What a nice parachute.
That's amazing.
And so made out of fabric, super durable. We are excited to get to kind of test it out, but it looks so nice.
It looks amazing. It also looks like it could be used as a vinyl slip mat for your record player.
Maybe like a dinner plate. We could figure something else out.
Perfect.
But it's been really cool to kind of noodle on like little things like that, or like with the cockpit saying, you know, it was nice when the whole thing came up, but it was a little complicated. So being able to have this now in two pieces, so that you have the window here and the piece that comes up. Yeah. It's just like little things like that we think have really made it.
Absolutely. There's a lot of very beautiful details that you've added on there. Like, I think you and Lenny were saying it on the last video update where you take the fuselage kind of engine covers off, and you've got all that gorgeous, like, again, like more depth because everything's like secondary. It's not like just one molded piece, which things like that. That's going to stand out really nice. Yeah,
and I can't wait. So we actually haven't seen a painted model.
I was just going to say, is that all going to be painted inside as well?
Yeah. So I believe that it will. We can verify that, but it is. I'm so excited. So we're going to do some of these. So you know how in the past when you've pulled a Skystriker out of the box, it's been like all white or all gray, and then it's all decals.
Yes.
So we will be having some like premium deco that will be pre-painted on these, and then there will be extra decals so that you can like change it up a little bit.
Brilliant.
But we haven't actually seen a real painted model yet because we've been working all digitally for the last couple of years. And so I am super excited to be able to see that. So the HasLab Skystriker will be white like the 80s version, not gray like the 2011 version. I know that I saw some questions about that online. Just to clarify, will be white. This is the ultimate 1982 Skystriker, not the ultimate 2011 one.
Yeah. Awesome. That's fantastic.
I feel like I got a little off like topic, but
no, if you've ever seen the show, the topics don't usually stay on for very long. It's totally fine.
It's been, and just to kind of finish, so Lenny and Chris, our designer and our engineer, really kind of got crazy. And Chris is like a total jet nerd. So he's like, ooh, on a real plane, this is how this would work. Can we make this happen? But it's so much fun to see them designing because it brings them such happiness to get to work on something that's this iconic to like bring it to a new generation. So we wanted it to still be very recognizable as a Skystriker, but with like just some of those little tweaks and tricks that we think will make it extra special.
Oh, it's definitely an upgrade on a massive scale.
Even if you like have them lined up on a table. So I have some comparison pictures that I can send over to you.
Flashing them up now.
Yeah, like now maybe while we're doing jazz hands. It's so cool to see them all kind of lined up. They're very close in size, but even unpainted on the HasLab version, you can tell that there's more detail put into this. It looks a little bit more polished and finished. One of the other things that I wanted to mention that we have gotten some questions about is that, yes, the engines on the back of the gray model are removable. So
Cool.
you're holding this up. Let's see, maybe kind of stuck there.
Yeah,
we go.
yeah. No, I remember that from back in.
And
Yeah.
check out all of the sweet detail on this now.
I think that's the first time anyone's seen that, right? Because that looks.
Yeah, it's the first time anybody's seen this, because I may have not taken it out for any of the photo shoots. And so I got some questions. Somebody on Instagram was like, can you pull those out? And I was like, oh yeah, you could totally pull those out.
That is brilliant. Oh, look at that. Yeah.
They're beautiful. And so it's just like little touches like that really like make this an extra special version of the Skystriker, the ultimate, dare I say, version of the Skystriker.
Yeah, I'd imagine you couldn't really go any further with it, could you? So yeah.
Yeah, no, this is like, unless we wanted to make it classified size, which we noodled on for a second, and Lenny actually traced out how big it would be, and we think it would be like 5 feet. Like there was a small child like definitively would fit in the like silhouette of the classified size. So for those of you at home wondering why we did not make this at 6-inch scale, it's because it would be enormous and it would not fit on any of your shelves. You would need a room for it.
You'd have to all the panels would have to be small enough to build together. Like it would be crazy.
It would be bonkers. Yeah. Although maybe, never say never. Who knows? In 20 years, when classified as like the #1 toy brand in the world, maybe we'll get a giant 6-inch scale Skystriker.
Wow. Maybe just go all the way, do a 12-inch scale one just for fun. For lols. Why not?
We may as well just have a family of them. Sometimes we're just like, and I'm sure it's
actual
easy.
jet at that stage, I guess.
Oh yeah, okay. So I'm imagining the parking lot for the photo shoot. So you have the full actual jet, and then you have all the different scales like in front of it. Like, I love it.
That would be amazing. Okay, well, the vehicle as well, like we talked about the actual vehicle itself, but it comes with a bevy of accessories, which has always been like synonymous with the G.I. Joe brand. But was there an effort made here to kind of increase the loadout to kind of like a much larger degree?
Oh yeah, I think, and I know that like in all of the interviews that we've been doing at PulseCon, we keep harping on this element of storytelling and how important that is to the brand. And we have seen like the amazing shelf like displays that you guys are doing and the toy pictures. And we wanted to really make this something that you could make work for however you wanted to display it. Yeah. So the stand comes in to this, all of the blast effects, which have never been done before. You get so many missiles on this thing. And so it's really customizable for what kind of a Skystriker you would like to be presenting to the world. Yeah. And I think that that's one of the beautiful ways about it. And especially like with all of the decals that you have, even if you have somebody who like figures out the exact angle of it on the stand and it's the same as somebody else and they have like the wings out and the landing gear up, based on the decals, it could look like a totally different plane. And I think that that is something that's really, really cool about it.
Like a ton of customizable options, basically, aren't there?
Yes, exactly. So you could do traditional like 1982 Skystriker, you could do a Tomcat, you could do more of a modern jet, and anything in between, really. And I think that that is part of the joy of that. One of the things that we're doing that's different in this version than the last version is that you actually now get 2 different canopies. Because I know that, when you get the pilot stickers, it's kind of hard to figure out exactly like who you want to be your pilot and which stickers you want to go on there. So we'll actually have one that is like premium decoed with Ace's name and Wayne Ruthel's name on the canopy as per the old version. But then you'll also get a blank one with a lot of different pilot stickers so that you can choose who you want to be your like pilot combo, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. Really cool. Speaking of, I'll come back to the stand in a second, but considering you just discussed Ace and Wayne Ruthel, let's talk action figures.
Yeah.
So you recently made a post stating that Ace and Wayne Ruthel would be getting separate cards. Just a small detail, but will they be packaged inside the card, inside the Skystriker box, if that makes sense?
So we tried really hard to make that happen. It turns out that the Skystriker is like kind of a big plane. Who would have thought? And she kind of heavy. And so we really wanted to make sure that, when you are getting your figures on card backs, we want the card backs to be perfect. We don't want them to have like a little bent edge from where the Skystriker like knocked against the box.
Drills into it. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So the way that we're doing it is we're actually doing a secondary tray on top of the Skystriker box that will come with your set. And so the secondary tray will have your stand, your vehicles, and then as many of those card back characters as you can unlock. Wow. So if you get up to the 18 18K unlock. It'll be Ace and Wayne carded, it'll be Scarlet carded, it'll be Ripcord carded, and it will be the pit crew who will be sharing like an old school double card back.
Brilliant. I love that. I love that thought, because obviously we had, I think Battle Force 2000 came in 2 packs, Night Force came in 2 packs. So like, yeah, I love the thought of doing that again. And something related to the card backs, you mentioned Night Force Ripcord there.
Yeah.
Is he getting a Night Force card back? Because they had slightly different kind of...
You know what, Chris? He is. Yeah, so he will be a single Night Force card, which is going to look really cool. So it's a really fun kind of challenge for our design team. They've done an amazing job recreating the standard cards, but getting to figure out like, okay, this is a new kind of background, new kind of posing. How can we really bring this to life in a way that feels updated, but still like fits in with the rest of the story?
That's fantastic. That's really cool. In terms of the art, you've mentioned that they're all getting new, because I mean, we kind of discussed this on the show a few days ago, and how all of these kind of characters and stuff have never really had single card artwork before. So most of them, I think, you get, like Ripcord has, but obviously he... are you going to be using Ripcord's old pose, but then changing it, or is it going to be completely new?
I believe it's going to be completely new. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
There's a chance that, so we're commissioning basically new art in the style of retro. Brilliant. So if the artist chooses the old pose, he may. If he goes in a totally new direction, he may. But I think that it'll be really, really cool to see. It's been so much fun getting to... Spoiler alert, there are more O-Ring figures coming out for Pulse later this year that we've already seen some of the art for.
Spoiler
alert, guys. You know, we said we were making a big deal out of it. There are more figures coming. But we've gotten to see some of that artwork and compare it with some of the older artwork. And it's really, really cool to get to kind of see those differences and how it's evolved over time.
Awesome.
So I'm thrilled to get to see all of this, especially, oh my gosh, Flight Suit Scarlet.
I know.
I'm stoked to see her artwork,
because obviously she's had, in a similar vein, she's had a 25th figure artwork where she, and obviously Glenda, which is the kind of the homage of her pilot kind of deco and everything, but like that is a completely different design, so it wouldn't work. So I'm really excited to see what they do with Scarlet. I'm really excited to see what they do with Ripcord, obviously, and then the pit crew. I mean, are they going to get I guess they're going to get 2 pieces of separate art for each one, aren't they? Because they're different colors. And fantastic.
Yeah.
It's
been pretty fun. We've been trying to figure out, okay, what's the most natural way to pose them with their, and I have no idea what these are actually, light wand stick things.
I want to say like semaphore, but that's something complete. That's like kind of, that's communicating from a distance, isn't it? With flags and stuff. So,
you know, that sounds very fancy, and I'm going to Google it afterwards.
Good. Don't Google it, guys. Don't. I'm right. Just believe me.
It's been really fun to kind of get to be part of that process, and Kayla, who's our brand designer, is really having kind of a great time figuring out how to do all of these recreations for things and really leaning into that retro. It's like a totally different ballgame from designing for classified series, because it's, you know, we're taking inspiration directly from the 1980s versus classified, which feels much, much more modern. Yeah.
Let's talk that stand, because that is an engineering marvel, isn't it? Like, that's something that I know has kind of existed in the past, where you can get movable stands and stuff, but this is just, it's beautiful, and it makes so much sense with what the Skystriker is and does, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you can get, it's so cool. The first time I saw it, I was like, there's no way this thing is going to support this giant plane. Like, if it's like, no way. It totally does. It's been sitting on my bookshelf. Like, it does a great job. So the way that it's held in place are these dog bone pins.
Yeah.
And then I should not pick up the Skystriker with one hand. That seems like a poor life choice today. And then so on the bottom, you see these 3 here, and they just slot right into the stand.
And the fuel tank goes into the middle one, doesn't it, on the Skystriker?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes, because the fuel tank is removable on this one, so you do have to take the fuel tank off to put it on the stand, which is like not the worst thing in the world. Extra stability, guys. We like it. And so the way that it works is that, I know Lenny showed you in the last detail video, but you can put missiles, effects on all of these. We gave you some storage space in the back because we know we all like it a little tidy. And then you have this amazing kind of, I'm gonna get this wrong, Chris is gonna be upset, kind of screw thingy that keeps it tight.
Fantastic.
And And
do you know what? I didn't even think about that, because obviously when you move it around, you might want to hold it in place. So that makes I see now. I just thought it was like on like a really stiff kind of.
No, so it's so you can kind of see here. So this will tighten or loosen so that you can move this around and really put it into whatever kind of banking position you would like.
Yeah.
This resin model is resin models don't last for a particularly long time, and this one has had a very long 6 weeks. So this one is not quite as tight as it used to be, but the plastic ones will be perfect. They will last. They will be amazing. And so you can really kind of tell a story about, like, you could have your Skystriker banking off to the side like this so that it actually looks like it's going on an adventure with the blast effects and all the missiles loaded out. Like, imagine how cool that is going to be.
I love that. I love that. And I like the fact as well on both that it's not like symmetrical on both sides. There's like different like spacing and stuff to make it more dynamic. I like that. I think that's really cool.
And so you can really choose kind of what direction you want it to display. You could even, you could be crazy and you could display it storage side out if you wanted to. I know, that's a little much.
Crazy.
But we have really tried to give you options for this. We want you to be able to really tell your own Skystriker story that really speaks to you.
It's amazing. I love that stand. It's great. So whoever like was responsible for designing and engineering that, you've done an amazing job.
Oh yeah, big props to Lenny and Chris on this. Like, this is absolutely fantastic.
Love that. That's a really nice addition. I love that a lot. Okay, well, coming back to action figures, and this is a big one. Wayne Ruthell. Right?
Yes.
First time he's ever getting, an action figure.
Yeah.
It's really, I find it quite fun when the new kind of characters get introduced and so on and so forth. And it feels like he's an old character that just has never been seen properly. So this is really cool. I mean, that must have been a bit of a challenge for the guys kind of designing him. But then one thing I will say, and this has been like mentioned so many times by everyone that comments on our videos, is he going to get a code name?
Oh, absolutely. He's getting a code name.
We're getting all the exclusives on the show today, guys.
So he will be receiving his very own all new G.I. Joe code name. It's the first time we've actually gotten to give a character a code name in quite a long time. So our brand writing team, Mark and Sam, are so excited about it. So Mark actually came up with a phenomenal list of code names the other day. So we all sat in a meeting. He kind of ran through his rationale for all of them. We picked our top 3. We picked our top 1. We ran it through legal. So soon we will be able to reveal what Wayne's code name will be. And it was really cool because we got to have some really great discussions about like what we thought worked best in the context of the Skystriker. So it's not just that he's not just a Joe. He's a Joe that is very heavily associated with one vehicle. And so how could we give him a code name that really kind of suits his situation in the plane without being like too like wink, wink, not about it.
That's great, and I'm really happy that he's getting his code name. I think that a lot of people would be kind of put at ease now because everyone's been going on, well, he needs a code name. I was like, give him time. I'm sure he'll get one.
He'll get one.
Just for the OCD of the cards and filling out the information and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so another thing I want to mention is the pit crew, because that's a really great addition. The campaign has kind of allowed you guys to create those kind of interesting figures. Now, going forward, does this open the door for more kind of support crew, like scientists and medical staff, maybe even green shirts?
Oh, absolutely. I think that, from a storytelling perspective, if you are creating a diorama and you have this like beautiful story going on, having those support members really helps you to flesh out the story. Oops, hit the stand. It's okay. I didn't knock it over,
I was going to say, as long as it's not broken, everything's fine.
No, it's like super sturdy. Like I hit it with the side of my hand and it didn't even tip over. Thanks, stand. And so to us, adding those kind of support positions really allow you to tell a richer story, to have richer images that you are creating. And so, yes, absolutely. It definitely opens the door for more of those in the future. And I think both in O-ring scale and in classified, it's something that we're looking at. So imagine what kind of figures could you imagine for classified in support positions? Please feel free to leave a note in the comments about what kind of support positions you would really like to see in either O-ring or classified.
Podcasters. YouTube channel people. That's what I want to see.
There we go.
YouTubers.
Social media is hard. So we've been playing around with like a lot of different ideas on both scales, but I think that everybody will be very excited when we start to see some of those new characters coming out. It also opens like a lot of things. There are not a ton of G.I. Joe characters that haven't already been created in O-ring scale. It's really hard to find kind of a new character expression that we can like get to play with.
Yeah.
And so this really opens up the chance for us to do our own kind of character expressions, which is really cool. It's what we want as toy designers, right? We want to be able to like contribute something really cool and have it be an important part of either somebody's childhood or adulthood, but make a difference.
Absolutely, 100% on that. I kind of love the inclusion of a pilot Scarlet using that Ace flight suit body, giving her the deco homage of the South American counterpart Glenda. Is it possible that we might see more Joes in flight suits in the future in a kind of similar way?
Never say never. I think that, I mean, Lenny was so smart to kind of pull in Glenda's colors for this. He loves pulling in kind of those surprise and delight moments from lesser known Joes around the world or lesser known iterations of Joes from around the world. And I think that getting to do the flight suit, which is, let's be real, it's a pretty silly looking outfit. Is he a pilot? Is he an astronaut? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, like what is he doing in this? And so to be able to, but it works so well in different colors that it could be really fun to, at some point in time, basically have a collection of different pilot outfits. So never say never on that. But I think that it would be really fun to figure out who else deserves to be in a puffy flight suit.
That's the thing, isn't it, as well? Like, because obviously they all fly them in the cartoon, so it's like everyone's in the cockpit. But yeah, definitely, there's a few that kind of stick out in my mind more than others. So yeah, that's great. That's amazing.
Well, so, we always do. We've been doing so many roadblocks. Wouldn't roadblock look really, really puffy flight suit?
I'd love that. Kind of in his like version 2 kind of colors of the green and the red and everything. Yeah, that would be.
Oh yeah, he would. I can imagine that if Roadblock were a real person and standing over me right now, he'd be very upset about this conversation.
Amazing. So assuming the campaign is a successful one, is it possible we could see this Skystriker repurposed into something else in the future, maybe like a Night Boomer, considering, you've got your Night Force figure in there? Is that a possibility?
I mean, again, on this one, never say never. You know how much we love a good sub-team of figures. And we'd love to be able to kind of start including larger vehicles and that storytelling. And so I think that as we're creating these new tools, looking into like how we can repurpose them in the future for other lines, this is the only time that you will be able to get this version of the Skystriker, but we may be able to make some modifications to the tools later on to be able to give us some more of those really iconic vehicles. Should be amazing. Better play experiences for everyone. Imagine, now you can have lots of planes on your shelf. But to emphasize, this is the only time you'll be able to get the Skystriker. Yeah.
Or just buy 5, guys. Buy 5 of them and then customize them.
That's what I did. So, I don't get these for free. I had to buy my own.
That's a shame. We won't get into that, though. We won't get into the fact that you guys should be getting all of this for free.
But it's important to me to like support our HasLabs. And so I have a personal policy that I support all of the HasLabs that go out from all of the other brands at Hasbro, because I think that it's such a cool and unique initiative.
It's fun.
That we should be getting to like take advantage of. And I want to support my coworkers and the amazing work that we're doing. So super stoked for my Galactus and my Proton Pack.
Oh, your Proton Pack is insane. Yeah.
The Proton Pack is insane. They did such a good job on that. Bill Raleigh, who's the designer, is one of my friends, and it is truly a labor of love. He did an absolutely amazing job. It's beautiful. I accidentally ran into the model in a room here one day, and I was like, oh man, is that the movie prop? They're like, no, that's the HasLab. Oh, cool.
Amazing. I mean, I've got my Unicron up there, so I know all about HasLabs. So incredible. I've defaced it by wrapping tinsel around it and putting lights on it. So
that's beautiful.
It's amazing. It's the best wreath I've ever seen in my life.
I had such a hard time understanding exactly how big a Unicron was until I saw one in person. I was like, oh my God. There was a katana still in a box too in one of the desks. And it was standing on end. I'm 5'0", and the box was almost as tall as I was. Yeah, this is enormous.
That is a big box. I love that thing as well. It's crazy. Okay, well, with just a few days left, will you be adding anything else to the campaign to help get it over the line?
We always like to have a little something up our sleeves. So we may not. Stay tuned, keep an eye. but it's, this campaign has really been an absolute labor of love from the G.I. Joe team. And we're really thankful for the positive feedback that we've gotten on it, comments that we'll take into when we're taking into consideration for our next HasLab. But it's been a wonderful experience to get to work on. And, we always like to have a little something to surprise and delight.
I'm going to take that as a yes.
I mean, I didn't say it, so.
Exactly. You're fine. You're covered. It's totally fine. I'm allowed to speculate and say whatever. I'm kidding.
Speculate all you want.
Yeah, never comes to fruition. Don't worry. Was there anything you'd like to say to the fans in order for them to kind of get in, because we're a few days out now. So what would you like to say to them to really push it home?
Yeah, I just think that, if you love G.I. Joe and you love the idea of having this beautiful ultimate version of the Skystriker, then please back our project. This is something that we are incredibly proud of, and we're really, really excited about the kind of the updates that we have made to this plane. I mean, this thing it's beautiful, and you can see the older versions behind me, and they were also really beautiful. But to us, this is truly the ultimate version of the Skystriker. It's not just the plane, though. It's the amazing stand. It is the vehicles that come with it.
The vehicles are so cool as well, aren't they?
The
Look at those
details on all of this. And then I have literally an entire bag of blast effects and missiles, and some unlock figures thrown in there. But just to be able to have all of this kind of newness with something that is so classic and beautiful, I think is a really special opportunity. It's also our very first HasLab, and hopefully it won't be our last HasLab, but knowing that we have that support from the G.I. Joe community to go forward with future HasLabs would be amazing for us. And I mean, we're just really, really proud of what we have put together, and we hope that you guys like it too.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Emily, thank you so much. That brings us to the end of the interview. I mean, thank you so much for coming on.
Much.
It's been an absolute pleasure speaking HasLab G.I. Joe Skystriker with you. Like Emily said, there's only a few days left to back the project, so jump on. Hurry over to Hasbro Pulse, get back in this, links in the description.
Before midnight on December 7th, midnight Eastern time.
Get on it, guys. Let's get this over the line, and let's get some of those let's get all those stretch goals unlocked. Let's get to 18,000.
You definitely want pit crew members, right? They got cute little vests on, their little flagon wands. Definitely something I want on my shelf.
Need. Emily, I hope you've had a good time. We'd love to have you on again if you're up for it.
This has been wonderful. Thank you, Chris. Oh, yeah. Do you want to just do the whole thing over again?
Let's do the whole thing again. One more time.
Yeah.
I'll press record this time. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Just kidding. Yeah, cannot wait. Anyway, thank you, Emily. Much appreciated. And thank you to the 400 Hasbro employees that are also on this on this call that you can't see. The ninjas in the background. Look at that beautiful plane. That's amazing. Fantastic.
Little undercarriage shot like this. I'm very bad at holding this up, but she's a pretty nice plane. I think that you guys will be very, very excited when you get one in your hands.
I want that in my hands now.
I'm
only about half a mile away, so I'll run over and play with it now.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Anyway, that's it for this installment of the Full Force Redacted. Thank you to my wonderful guest, Emily, from the Hasbro G.I. Joe brand marketing team. See you next time. And Emily, if you know what we do at the end of these episodes, we shout full force after 3.
Ooh.
You up for that?
Oh, sure. Let's do it.
So after 3, full force, okay?
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Full force!
Perfect!
Yes!
That was amazing.
We were not in sync at all, but
the
enthusiasm was there.
I can edit it to make it sound perfect. So anyway.
Access granted.
Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/The Full Force, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.
Access granted.